Hey, welcome back, listeners and viewers. We're here with another episode of the Power9 podcast. I am your host, Aaron Eggert. My guest today is the founder of a talent strategy firm focused on single-handedly changing the broken system of hiring entry-level talent, meanwhile educating companies on how they can come together with young people to unlock mutual full potential growth. Let's get after it and share the journey of my friend, Brian Johnson. Brian, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, man. First of all, let me just level set everybody that's listening slash watching slash whatever. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold. So if I got a little gurgle or something weird going on, my apologies in advance, but I think we're going to make it. I think we're doing okay already. I can feel that we've got good momentum on our end. Man, like, first of all, I just want to say to our listeners and stuff, I've made it pretty unapologetically clear that I'm a college dropout and I've had my challenges with the education system and stuff like that. And one thing in meeting you, Brian, is that has been something that you and I both share kind of a thought process of just like how there needs to be systematic change within education. But then also I think how challenging it is for young people to come out of the education system and then eventually find their career. So we're going to get into that, but I think what's really cool about the way that we've done this podcast is that your journey has kind of informed, not kind of, your journey has informed your passion for young people and getting people in meaningful positions and then watching them blossom. And like I talked about, mutual full potential growth. And a lot of it comes down to the way that you were raised and both the nature and the nurture, which I always like to talk about on this. And nothing makes me happier than when I get somebody that was a farm kid. And so you were a farm kid. So tell me about, so first of all, welcome to the show. Let's dig right in and let's start talking about your lived experience as a child growing up.
Yeah, it was growing up on a farm is a unique experience. If anyone's been there, done that, they know what we're talking about. But yeah, I grew up on a farm in southern Minnesota. It was I didn't have to do chores in the morning, but when I got home from school, there were always cows to be fed, help milk, help, pick rock, throw down bales, whatever else needed to be done. It was kind of a daily thing, and then weekend chores as well. And so I think at a young age, I thought this is child abuse. This doesn't seem right. But, as I got older, it really gave confidence, helped strengthen me. It actually probably helped me do better in sports as a high school kid. So it was really well appreciated as I got older and I think kind of helped craft who I am today.
What was your family dynamic? Mom, dad, siblings, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I was a single or only child for a long time. It was my mom and dad. My sister is 14 years younger than me, so it was me for quite a while. And then she came along. Dad was a farmer. Mom worked at a school. Was a secretary at a school, so they didn't go to college. They didn't have that background. So it was just kind of the four of us down there on dairy farm.
I always ask this of people kids that grew up on farms, and you have your chores and whether it be morning chores, evening chores, or a combination of the both. What was your favorite? So you had tons of chores. What was your favorite chore, and what was your least favorite chore?
Well, that's a great question, man. I think my favorite chore was probably, I would say probably doing the mixer of feeding. It was kind of everything was kind of on conveyor belts and the big machines and stuff. And you just had to get the right materials in there. It was probably the least labor intensive job. So maybe I was a little lazy in that regard. My least favorite chore was probably cleaning pens. Either with a skid loader or a shovel. I remember one time yelling at my dad as I was dumping a big load of manure, if you will, and got a mouthful of it because my mouth was open yelling at him at the same time. So I did not like cleaning pens. That was probably my least favorite. Yeah.
What was your earliest memory of being thrust into having to do farm chores? Was that like, I mean, being an only kid on a farm and like a male, right? And so
Right.
a boy, they have. So what was that like? Was it 5? Was it earlier? Like, what was it?
Well, so there's an interesting twist to this. So I grew up with a single mother in Faribault, the town, southern Minnesota here, up to age 11. Didn't really know my birth dad.
Gotcha.
And my mom married a farmer. So I went from growing up as a town kid where my chores were vacuuming and dishes to being thrust into a farm at age 10 or 11. So
Yeah.
really at 10 and 11 is when I started doing the chores. And I still remember driving a tractor at age probably 12 and thinking, this is insane. I'm so little. I shouldn't be even in front. I asked my dad, if I could crash this thing, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to yell at you. And that's kind of how you had to learn. So,
Yeah, right.
but yeah, I was probably 11 and then learning how to drive equipment at age 12. So it was quite the responsibility to be thrown into.
Before we get, we will eventually get off the farm thing, but I do think like
Yeah,
it is fascinating because I do think a lot of our listeners don't have exposure to that.
sure.
Another fascinating question that I think I'll have, especially since you were, all right, so 10, 11, getting involved in a farm from not having any exposure to farm, maybe in like from that point to when you graduated high school, in that age range, what was one experience you had that was such a close call that could have been a really bad accident, or you could have like lost a
Yeah.
finger or an arm or like something that you just missed that was like, holy smokes, that was close.
In regards to that, yeah. So I
Yeah.
think maybe the most comical and pretty scary time was, so we used to have two really large. We had dairy cows, so we had two really large bulls. It was Bob, and I think the other one I named Joe. And Bob was really aggressive. They would fight each other, and they'd be aggressive. When my dad would go into town, I'd throw rocks at the bulls and tease them and shoot them with my BB gun and stuff, which you should not do, by the way.
Shocker.
And one day I was in the cow yard trying to like get cows moved around. And I turned around and the bull, Bob, the mean one, he was right there. And he chased me into the feed bin thing. And I had to scream for my dad to get me out because I could not. He just sat there and waited for me and, pranced around waiting for me to come out of there. But it was close because he could have easily killed me. He was huge. That was pretty scary. That was a close call. Kind of funny. No.
There's a life motto that I live by. There's a couple of them, but one of my life mottos is the bill always comes due. And
Yeah.
I think you just lived that firsthand in that at that age.
Yeah, for sure. It was
Yeah.
definitely do. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're very fortunate. Yeah. All right. So then, fast forward to when you get into high school, and you grew up in a small town, but
Yeah.
not crazy small. Like
Right.
it's relatively well known, and there's a healthy population and stuff. But you were still small enough. What kind of extracurricular activities were you into? What was kind of the stuff that kept you out of trouble?
Well, not much kept me out of trouble. I was a troublemaker. I was kind of a class clown, pulling
Yeah.
pranks and doing all sorts of things to make teachers frustrated. But I was in football. I was big into football and basketball. Football was kind of my main sport. Really enjoyed it. I was a pulling guard, so I got to hit people all the time, and it was a lot of fun hitting people. I'm not trying to encourage hitting people, but it was fun then.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then playing basketball, those were my two big things. I had some great buddies, but we were always doing things like egging cars, moving people's lawn furniture around, TPing, throwing tomatoes, typical kid things. So yeah, it was a lot of
Yeah.
fun down there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so this is where I think it starts to get really interesting. Is like and I remember when we grabbed lunch one day, maybe a couple of years ago, and you were telling me this story, and I'm tapping into my memory here, which my long term memory is usually pretty good, so hopefully I'm pretty close. But I mean, it was a pretty much a like, I just need to go to college because I need to go to college, and you really didn't have a mission to go, and you didn't really have an intention on going. What was the thought process that you were having going into college? And then let's even kind of in that kind of talk a little bit about what your college experience was like.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I think it was a really lived experience. So like I said, I was a class clown, playing sports, doing pranks. School was not my friend. I wasn't really into school. I wasn't a good student in high school, never really studied. And so when it came time to think about going to college, that was really confusing to me. But my parents, my mom especially, was like, you got to go to college. So I went because she was, crying and upset about it. So I went and I was going to go play football in college, but I was so scared and so uncertain about why I'm going. I just sort of went, and I went to a community college, Rochester Community College, for a couple of years, just to see if I could even get through it. I actually opened a book and studied for the first time in my life because I was paying for it. So I'm like, I better get through this. I think my mom was hedging bets that I wouldn't get through it, or my dad, one of the two. But I still was super confused. I'm like, what am I going to major in? How does this translate to the real world? How does this even apply to the real world? Why would anyone care? And so I then transferred from Rochester Community College down to St. Mary's in Winona, a really nice school. probably did the best academically I've ever done, but I was still super confused. So in that process, I started changing my major from like maybe English to communications to journalism and back to English and then to theater with a minor in English. And so I kept changing this stuff. And, St. Mary's was great, but it was just super small campus, had some buddies going to Eau Claire, UW Eau Claire. So I decided to go there. And I should have went there right away. It was a wonderful experience at UW Eau Claire, go Blue Golds. And I really felt like I was a part of a college at that point, but I was still super confused about how does what I'm studying actually matter? How does anyone care about this stuff? How is this going to translate to a job? What job am I supposed to be doing? There were moments where I wanted to quit. I thought about quitting. I worked summer construction, made a ton of money. I'm like, what is the point of school? And I just struggled. I kept changing my major. So I ended up changing my major 7 times, transferring 3 times, which then caused me to have a 5.5-year, 6-year college degree, which my dad still makes fun of me of, an undergrad in 6 years, that is. So not a plan I would recommend for anyone, but it was just a super confusing time. And I was really lost throughout that process. So anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's probably, there's a lot of kids that go through that, so if you look back on, let's just kind of carve out between St. Mary's and Eau Claire. What do you think it was about the campus, about the school culture, about all of that made it feel so natural at Eau Claire and feel so like you just struggled a little bit? And I'm not saying, like, it sounds like you did good, right, at St. Mary's. You could have made it work. It just didn't feel as natural. What made it feel more natural going to Eau Claire?
I think the real challenge with Eau Claire, the real challenge with St. Mary's, it's a really small campus, and it's a great school, so I don't mean to put it down, but it was super small, and I transferred in there. And so when you go to a small environment, imagine moving into a small town, people have their friends, they have their cliques. I was eating lunch by myself. I was struggling to make friends because people had their groups already. I won't go into much depth with this, but they kind of put me with a roommate that at the time, he had a kind of a nervous breakdown. He thought he was the second coming, Jesus Christ. He literally thought he was Jesus Christ. And so I had to kind of report him to the school leaders and say, look, this guy needs help. There's just like a combination of things. And I just didn't feel really connected. And then when I went to Eau Claire, it was a vibrant, it's a school of 10,000 people. I did have some friends there, but there's such a community of large groups of people, lots of activities. It really was more of that big college feel. And there's so much to latch onto there. I just felt way more connected and energized by all that. So it's kind of the change between the two.
I'm going to bounce all over the place here. That's just kind of how this podcast rolls. And so so let's talk about that experience that you had. Okay. So you made a conscious decision to make a couple changes and eventually found your happy place. Now, when you're talking with kids that are coming out of, whether they be right out of college or a few years out of college, and is it feeling like it's getting to be a little bit more commonplace that you're seeing students that have transferred schools and have jockeyed around a little bit, where I think even in the time when you and I were going to school, like it was just, you said it and you forget it. So you were probably a little bit of the anomaly in bouncing around a little bit. Like, you go to this school, you're going to spend 4 years there. And then if you want to go beyond that, then that's on you. Are kids bouncing around a little bit, or are they staying pretty pat?
I would say, that's an excellent point. More kids are transitioning. A lot of kids are seeing going to maybe a 2-year, community college or junior college to kind of save some money and then transfer in. That's a really not a bad idea, actually. And then sometimes kids just getting into the wrong fit, or even going to a school that doesn't have a major that they later on think that they want to really go to, so they transfer to another school that has it. But yeah, it's way more common than it was when I was there. I felt there was something wrong with me because I'd done it twice. Mm-hmm. And there's only a couple other students that I'd bump into that even did it once. So that's a really excellent point. It's much more common and acceptable now. Back then it was, not as common, and it felt maybe something wrong with it back then. So yeah, great point.
Yeah. So as we put a little bit of a bow on your educational journey, I do want to touch on the whole nature versus nurture thing. And, coming from you and I come from obviously very different backgrounds, but from more of a little bit of a blue collar background, for lack of a better term. And so there wasn't a lot of entrepreneurial spirit in my family and entrepreneurial anything really, right? It was like go do your best at your job, come home, and it was more work focused. Where do you think you
Yeah.
got that from?
That's an excellent question. I don't know. I mean, my dad was a farmer. The gentleman that adopted me, Dave Johnson, became my dad, but I remember even wanting to ask him if I could raise some bull calves on my own and sell them. I had like this wanting to. I don't know if I was just easily bored and wanted to try to grow something. I tried to bribe him to let me get some chickens, and I wanted to sell eggs, and so I don't know where it came from, but I mean, my grandpa, he always wanted to be a salesperson, and he always kind of did sort of businessy things, even though he wasn't in business. And I always kind of had an interest in that, but I really don't know. That's a question that actually I don't even know the answer to myself. That's a great question.
I think from like an outsider's perspective, living on a snowy Friday in farm country, I'm going to be tonight. I'm going over. We do supper club with our neighbors, and all my neighbors are farmers, so I get to spend time with them. I kind of wonder if it's more, pretty heavy on the nurture side for you because, your dad, you got to see him from an arm's length. He not only had to go out and probably do the chores and all of the hands-on work, but I think the most challenging thing for a farmer is like trying to figure out the financial side, right? And if there's any type of like insurance that gets involved, and we, crop insurance and the loan aspect of things, if you're borrowing money to for good equipment, and then if there's any type of government subsidies because of any challenging environmental things, like all of that stuff. I think you got to have a freaking MBA in business, but yet it's all the school of hard knocks. I'm kind of wondering if you had a little bit of that by osmosis of like you just an arm's length, just almost like just because you're in touching length of your dad.
Yeah, I think that's actually an excellent point. I mean, I saw him have to go through things and deal with things. I mean, I didn't mention this when I was probably a junior. Our barn, which had our dairy cows, burnt to the ground. Coming home from football practice, I saw the house the barn was just ablaze. I thought Dad put in one of those orange farm lights because I could see it coming over the hill, and I got there and the whole barn was burnt. Then we had to go into pigs after that. But I saw like the ups and downs of that life. And, I remember my dad being out in the field all night and coming home and sleeping for 2 hours and then have to milk out. There was no one that was going to take it over. Yeah. There's no one that would be tough crap if you're sick, tough crap if your arm is broke. You got to get out. You got to milk cows. You got to go do I had to feed all the animals. And if I fed them wrong, a calf would die or an animal would get sick. And that cost the family money. And so I think seeing the consequences of not doing chores or skipping on something is real, and it impacts the family dollar. That definitely set in. And even to this day, I still think when times are hard, I remember my dad coming in from being in the field all night. I still fascinates me that he could power through that. But yeah, I think you're right about that. It's a really good point. Kind of
puts things into perspective a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good segue then, work ethic and the work that it takes to become an entrepreneur. I want to get into your career journey here. So let's take a quick break. Let's listen to a few of our community supporters, and then we're going to come right back here with Brian Johnson.
The topic of talent is hot in organizations of any size, and I would argue none more than small to mid-sized businesses. That's why it's crucial to have a partner to help you navigate all the HR idiosyncrasies so you can focus on working on your business and not in it. Insperity is a full-service HR partner with a high-touch, high-tech platform helping owners work through challenges like employee retention, company culture, and benefits, just to name a few. Do yourself a favor and explore all they have to offer at Insperity.com. Insperity, HR that makes a difference.
Are you a sales leader looking to take your skills to the next level so you can help your team grow and drive even more revenue? Let's face it, when most sales leaders got promoted from a salesperson to a sales leader, you didn't get much training or tools or best practices. Nobody taught you about how to define strategy or gave you best practices around hiring and training. Nobody told you the best ways to coach and really develop people, or driving accountability or performance management or forecasting. I can go on and on. If you want to learn best practices in these areas and more, and you want to learn from experts and your peers so you can grow, go to www.pivotadvisors.com and specifically check out our sales leader community called the Pivotal Peak Alliance. We would love to talk to you.
Leading a growing organization means knowing when to bring in strategic expertise. At All-in-One Accounting, we understand that your financial needs evolve as you scale. We're more than just accountants. We're trusted partners who align our expertise with your vision, driving sustainable growth through expert financial leadership. From day-to-day bookkeeping to high-level strategy, we help you grow profitability, protect your assets, and amplify your impact. Consider us your partner for both immediate financial clarity and long-term strategic success. Connect with us at allinoneaccounting.com.
Verseek Executive, Professional, and Interim Recruiting is an award-winning, locally owned hiring and placement firm based in Minnesota. With specialized practice areas across our 3 divisions, Verseek delivers a tailored experience to a wide range of industries. What sets us apart is our team of recruiters, seasoned professionals who have worked in the very fields they now hire for, providing unmatched industry insight and connections. Verseek believes that people are more than just resumes, they are transformative, unlocking the potential for organizational growth and success. Now let's find your people together. Learn more about Verseek at versique.com. Tradition Capital Bank is a local bank that has the products and capabilities to service middle market companies, nonprofits, and their owners, employees, and families by offering a high-touch approach paired with customizable solutions. Think of them as your nimble allies serving with generosity, care, and precision. Tradition starts with the assumption that there's always more to learn, try, and discover, aiming to find the best yes for whomever they have the privilege of working beside. From a foundation of trust, Tradition takes disciplined, smart risks to help people grow beyond what they even thought possible. Tradition Capital Bank is the second largest privately owned bank headquartered in the Twin Cities, and with locations in Edina, Wayzata, and North Oaks, Minnesota, alongside their office in Scottsdale, Arizona, Tradition Capital Bank is committed to big bank offerings with a small bank ethos. Let their team be the friend you need in your next financial move. Barton, Walter, and Cryer CPAs and Business Advisors is a full-service CPA firm providing premier accounting, tax, and consulting services to a wide variety of middle market and small businesses, primarily throughout the Twin Cities Metro and Upper Midwest. Drawing from diverse and varied experience with large Big Four organizations and boutique accounting firms, our team of CPAs and tax professionals delivers innovative, value-added solutions for our clients throughout personalized attention, diligence, and breadth of knowledge. From day one, we've built long-lasting relationships with our clients based on mutual trust and dedication to growth and long-term financial success. Our approach is client-centered. We make your goals our goals and deliver unparalleled service and support that exceeds expectations every time. Find out more at bwkaccounting.com. All right, we're back here with the Power 9 podcast with Brian Johnson, founder of Katapult. And so I do want to just get into your journey here a little bit on the work side of things. I was going to ask you what your favorite high school job was, but I have a feeling you probably didn't really have too much of those because of all the work that you were doing around the farm. So that would have been a dumb question. Okay, after college, when you're getting your career up and going, what was your first, air quotes, real job?
Real job. Yeah, that's a good one. My first real job was selling credit card processing machines and literally cold calling, going out, meeting people, and primarily, obviously, merchants and selling credit card processing machines. Interesting learning experience. A lot of weird stories came out of that in terms of things that I saw and people screaming at me and all kinds of other problems. But I was excited to. It was the first job where I didn't have to shovel anything, so it was actually kind of nice, to be honest with you. So,
yeah. I think every kid should have a job in either sales like that, where they're going to get the door slammed in their face a ton of times, or at a restaurant, being a server. Yes. You want to have a little bit of a dose of reality. I think any young person going and working in that world, either one of those worlds, you're going to learn about rejection, and you're going to learn about just how the dynamics of humans at the deepest level, right?
Yes, definitely. Everyone should definitely have that type of role.
They should, yeah.
Learn a lot.
So what attracted you to talent, and when did you first start getting into the whole talent side of things?
Yeah, great question. So I mean, coming out of college, I did struggle to get my first job out of school, and took 6 months to get that first job out of college. I remember crying myself to sleep at night because I thought, man, I'm going to be a farmer. Nothing wrong with being a farmer, but I thought, what did I just do to myself? I went to college, all this money spent, and I'm not going to get anything out of this. So I went to a lot of different places to interview. And when I came across this company back in the day called Grad Staff, which doesn't exist in the same form, I was amazed that they actually cared that I had transferable skills. And they were the first place that didn't ask me what experience I had. They asked me, who am I as a person? What are my strengths and abilities? And what could I do with those? And it was the most hopeful and exciting interview I've ever had. And I was so amazed by them taking the time to get to know me. I was shocked. It was wonderful. I can still remember it. So I think that was sort of my entry point to talent, and that someone took the time to get to know me and actually cared about how I can turn that into a career. And I thought, this is fascinating. And they helped me get my first job out of school. And it was so I don't know where I'd be without that. I was at my wit's end. So I really saw the power of that for myself, and it really attracted me to try to do that for others, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you would hope that you've got some young person on a podcast in 15, 20 years from now that they're saying the same thing about you and Katapult, right?
Yeah. That would be a dream come true.
Yeah. That is a dream come true. Yeah. So what was your first job in talent then?
Yeah. First job, they put me into kind of a BDR role to try to attract clients for us. So I was back to the good old cold calling part. But then I quickly, within 6 months, learned how to do recruiting, and they moved me to Chicago. So now I got a farm kid, background, college, and then into Chicago for 2.5 years. And that was exciting. And my parents were super scared. I wouldn't let anyone come with me, help me move in. I just wanted to go on my own. I knew nobody in Chicago. But man, getting down there was a smaller office, and really placing talent was amazing. I was able to recruit and find clients. One of my first placements was so appreciative, and we did recent college grad hiring then. My first placement was so appreciative. He invited me to his wedding. I didn't even know the guy. And I really saw the impact of what you can do with when you're helping someone find a job, and how that just creates that identity and how important that is. I'll never forget him. I don't know, I might even still have the card somewhere, but I just was so amazed that this guy's going to invite me to his wedding, barely knows me, but that was how important getting that job was for him. And it was, like I said, it was over 20 years ago. I still remember that. So that was kind of my first thing, was the sales and recruiting side. And then I kind of moved up into leadership after that, and then moved back to Minnesota. So it's always been a fun journey helping people find those connections.
Grad Staff, right? We're still talking about Grad Staff?
Yeah. Grad Staff, yeah.
That was a pretty big company. And is it, and you said it's around in a different form, but at that time that was it probably kind of some of the heyday of when it was around, was when you were there, and you elevated into a pretty high level role. What was the highest level of responsibility that you had for that company?
Yeah, two questions there. So Grad Staff was the only company at the time nationwide that had done anything to help college grads with no experience find jobs. There's nothing like it anywhere. We didn't even have any there's nothing like it in the country. We were nationwide. We grew a lot. We grew fast. And I elevated from business development to account manager to kind of head of sales to eventually at the end, I was senior VP of sales and overseeing the East Coast offices, kind of overseeing half the company and reporting to the CEO. I mean, I loved Grad Staff. It was what really inspired me about Grad Staff. Many of us were in our early 20s. All of us were of the same cloth of like, I don't know what to do with my degree. A bunch of misfit toys trying to build this thing together. And it was the most enjoyable group of people. Loved it. I still love Grad Staff, and I kept doing it. But yeah, I worked my way up to the top, and we helped build that thing to sizable company. Yeah.
That just lends itself to the same question that everybody else is asking. Why would you leave that?
Yeah. So I was about 8.5 years into the company, give or take, maybe close to 9. And the owner had approached me and had shared with me he wanted to sell the company. And I did not want to go anywhere else. I did not want to be sold. I didn't want anyone else to touch us. I never want anything to change. So I said, that's great. I want you to sell the company to me and I'm going to talk to the other young people here. We're going to raise money. We're going to buy this thing from you. We don't want you to sell us. And, at the time, and rightfully so, that wasn't something he wanted to do. And he respectfully said, that's just not a reality. I'm not interested in that. And I respect his thoughts, being in my spot now. But at the time I was devastated. I thought, man, I'm trying to give you my whole life. This is my life. You've made my life. I'm living through this company. We got to save people. We got to help these kids get jobs. So I was devastated, and I worked my way to go find a new job after that. I had to wait my non-compete out. But my vision was like, if he's not going to let me buy this, I'm going to start it on my own. So I waited my non-compete out and then launched Katapult and just kept doing what I was doing from the start.
So the early days then of Katapult is I got to believe not very much brick and mortar. Like you're not going to just go grab an office or anything. Are you just taking your contacts and everything that you had from your grad staff days and just pulling it forward and being like, all right, I'm going to kind of rinse and repeat what I did before, but this is going to be on my own accord?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I had no idea how to go about this. I knew how to do the business. I knew the clients. I knew everything about it, but I didn't have a good understanding of how do I get money. I had my first daughter and we were going to have the second one. I couldn't go straight commission. So I was starting to look for funding. And, bless his heart, Brian Carlson, the owner of Ambrion, had met him through a network in Eau Claire, told him the idea. And I was asking him, how do I get funding? And he agreed to fund and get us started. And thank goodness, or we wouldn't, I don't know if we'd be here. I didn't know how to get the funding. So he also gave me a spot in his office, to actually kind of a cube to start and have a place to interview. And so really appreciate all that Brian has done to get us started. And that's kind of how we took off. But it was me and a cube, and I did have my contact list. I made up marketing material off of just Word documents and things like this. I mean, it was scrappy, but it was, looking back at it now, it was a lot of fun.
Let's level set everybody on like what time frame this is. What year did you start Katapult?
That was 2015. It started
2015. Okay, so 10 years ago. So you look back on that. Let's look at that first year as a whole. What is one mistake that you made? One thing that you're just like, you look back on that as being like, if I can share this one thing with anybody listening that they just don't do this, I want to eliminate this from their journey. What is one thing that you learned in your first year that you think people would find valuable if they're thinking about starting a company?
Looking back at it, and I'm not sure that I know how to fix this, but I'm going to warn people. Yeah. My second daughter, Presley, was born pretty much right as we started. And, going back to the idea of being a farmer, my dad, when my sister was born, he had to go back home and milk cows. There's no one else to milk the cows. My daughter was born. I just started this business, just me. And I remember I had to leave the room with her and my wife, who just had her, and I had to go back to work, and I did not spend the time with her, and I can't go back and fix that. Still kind of makes me a little emotional thinking about it. But even throughout my first couple of years, I don't remember her being a baby. Wow. I remember working. I would work till 8, 9 o'clock at night. I'd bring work home with me, look at the kids, eat dinner, and go back to work again at night. And you can't get that stuff back. And I've had people ask me would I start another business, and yeah, sure, as my kids are growing, maybe, but like you can't get those valuable family times back. And for anyone starting a business, I think you got to find a way to balance them both, and it's hard. But that is the one regret I have, is just not spending the time with my family. That was, so little, and I don't remember it. So that part kind of sucks.
That's nothing remotely close to what I was expecting you to say. I was expecting a little bit more tactical, but I think the relevance of that and how probably a lot of people identify with that. It's pretty crazy to me. And it tends to be a little bit more women on this podcast, is that it's crazy to me how many people have started their business when they were pregnant, or there was a baby on the way or something like that. And I think that probably happens, for one reason or another to so many people. But I think probably even whether it be a child or anything, like making sure that you're being present and I think as entrepreneurs, we can all kind of get into this future focus mode and kind of lose the forest through the trees a little bit, to where I think that is way better advice that I would have hoped for out of some kind of like tactical BS. Right.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. I think the one thing too, I would just throw in there really quick, is there's that whole and I hear people say this is actually probably a good important note. there's never really a good time. And you just remind me of from when you said there's never really a good time to do it. Everyone will say, I don't have enough money. I am having a child. I wanted to take one more vacation, or I don't feel ready. I mean, here we are, I'm having my second daughter. I don't have much money because I left the last job. There's never a good time to chase your dream, but going for it, believing in yourself, and just pushing forward. Because I don't think there ever is. I mean, you talk to tons of entrepreneurs. There's never a good time to start this.
Yeah,
you just got to go for it. You got to believe in it. And my recommendation is try to find balance and peace in there if you can. But it's hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good point.
You and I talk to business owners all the time, just doing what we do. And, you know, or even on this podcast, I mean, I've talked to people that have started a business in the best economy that they could have experienced. I've talked to people that have started it in 2008, 2009 at the depths of that recession. And, you know, to your point, like it doesn't matter. Like you just got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to bet on yourself. As someone told me today, you got to bet on yourself and make it happen.
Yeah. You got to bet on yourself before anybody else does, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about Katapult then. So, you know, it was inspired by your previous experience. So now as you look at Katapult as it is in its present state and where you're going in the future, this is your opportunity to give a little bit of through explaining what you do, a little commercial for yourself. So like what makes Katapult so special? And I mean, I've never heard of another, I have, but they are not in the state of Minnesota, so it doesn't really matter. I haven't heard of too many people that focus on your emphasis of young people. So tell me a little bit about the good work that you guys do and then maybe what the future holds a little bit.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, I mean, our whole focus, our whole world is to really, as Aaron said in the beginning of this, is to disrupt entry-level hiring. And when I say disrupt, I'm not trying to be cliche. The system is really broken. We've got, 18 and 19-year-olds picking their major, thinking of this dream for themselves, as many of us did, young people coming out of college, and those dreams are not coming true. And those dreams probably weren't really supposed to be like, nothing is what you expected to be, as they say. And so those kids coming out of college are lost. On the other side of the spectrum, we've got a business community that has forgotten what it was like to be an entry-level person and start at the bottom and grow to the top. And so they're looking at this young generation and expecting experience, expecting certain skills to be met. But if they were to look in the mirror, they didn't have those coming out of school either. And so Katapult's right dead set in the middle. We are a recruiting company, first and foremost. We specialize in placing recent college grads into entry-level jobs. But at the hope and the focus of our mission is getting these two very disconnected parties to see eye to eye and see there's a ton of opportunity there. And I'm meeting business owners every day and business leaders that really are surprised that college grads want some of these jobs they have. They've over-elevated the college grad to a spot that is unrealistic for most people to get started in. And so we are trying to bring everyone back down and get those connections so that we can get companies good entry-level talent to develop and grow and mold, more importantly, and provide that hope to those recent grads, much like myself, that are sitting there, tears in their eyes, trying to figure out what the hell to do with this degree. So, I mean, that's a fighting force. I think every morning I wake up, that is what I am really set out to do. And maybe somebody told me this a while back, and I never thought about it this way, but it's almost like I see myself in every one of those college grads. I know that may sound corny, but I feel their pain. My saddest point is I can't find enough opportunities for all of them, and I wish I could. So that I feel all those tears, those pains. I feel the shame that sometimes they feel because they feel like they failed. We don't need to live like that. It doesn't have to be that way. We got lots of good companies. There's a company for everyone. And so my mission, my goal, our goal at Katapult is to make that simpler for both parties to come together.
And well, I mean, if you probably don't sit in the mirror and tell your own story, but if you were going to, in future, Brian should listen to this podcast, because I think everyone that's listening to this podcast is like, yeah, dipshit. Yeah, 100%. You did live this. Like, come on, man. Like, this is your life story. You're just happening to try and make it a little bit easier for everybody else. So like, I think you should take some great pride in the fact that you were able to go through, some rough experiences and things like that, and that your goal is just to only grease the wheels a little bit more for everyone that you kind of carved that path for, and you just happen to create a business around it. So good for you. I think that's a huge deal, and you should have a great sense of pride on that. So now you take all of that and the inspiration that you have of this lived experience that is now informing the business that you own. What does the future look like for Katapult? And I'm not looking for you to like pull out your old VTO or whatever dashboard you got of like that's going to paint your 10-year picture. But like, what are you guys talking about? And what are some of the things that you got on the horizon?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. So, I mean, I have a BHAG. The BHAG would be to completely transform the way entry-level hiring is done across the country, maybe across the world, but let's just start here, right?
Yeah.
Some people would say that's not realistic. I think it is realistic. I think we need to change the way we're doing this. I do think there's going to come a time and place, because I'm seeing it now with Gen Z, where people are going to decide college isn't for them. I think Katapult at some point may need to evolve into an opportunity to help those entry-level whoever's get that first start in whatever career path they're trying to get into. And so I think we can continue to mold and develop that. We're already seeing some new industries that we've never thought of getting into that are thinking about how do we take this group of young people and grow them into something new, and maybe train them something they didn't think about doing, or an industry we wouldn't have normally ever touched. So there's a lot of exploration right now with new industry. I mean, manufacturing has been really hard pressed to get talent.
Yeah.
And there's some amazing jobs in there. So I was talking to an owner the other day. It's like, he said, I have a piece of equipment that is several $1 million to run. It's like driving a spaceship. And, do you think you could get a college grad to come over and learn this? It's well paying, lots of advancement, and it's a pretty cool job when you think about what you're actually doing. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for the future of Katapult to reinvent ourselves, to continue to find ways to help entry-level people unlock those career paths and solve that problem for businesses. So I'm pretty excited about that and how we can evolve as those needs come up.
Yeah, I think you probably see this, and I think I hear about it more based on A, where I live, and then B, just how many business owners I talk to with C9 and everything like that. Is if someone can figure out like how to get kids to understand the value of the trades, right? Like, and I got a neighbor kid that went to school for 18 months to be a diesel tech, and that kid's making easy six figures, and he's crushing it, and that to me is like, that's another thing to solve for, is like making the trades not feel so like in the trades.
Right. Exactly. Right. I think you're exactly spot on. There's a lot of talk about that going on in the community. I think we have to get down into the junior high level, maybe even a little younger, and start exposing these kids to, what are you good at? We do this thing called SparkFile Katapult. We understand transferable skills. I would love to carry some of that into our education system and be like, we're not all going to be alike. We don't all learn alike. We're not all interested in the same things. We are meant to be like that, because that's what makes the world go round. Let's not force people into spots they shouldn't be or make them feel ashamed. We need to unlock that potential so we can all win if we can find these people places. I would love to see in the future more infiltration within the schools of these trades, and figuring out ways to expose people to careers that they aren't hearing about. And honestly, to your point, can be so career fulfilling and good money and good values. And we need a lot of people to help us get that done.
All right. Last question before we dive into a couple other things, and then we get to going into 9 questions. You're around young people, inspired young people, you're investing into young people, but yet there's still kind of a disconnect from a generational standpoint. So, I think we're slowly getting the boomers out of the job market. We're still in a situation where we've got 4 generations in the job market, potentially 5, which is unprecedented, right? And so then let's remove from the boomers, and I think then you've got Gen Xers, and Gen Xers are very independent and somewhat cynical. You and I are probably a little bit identified by that. So when you're talking with people that are Gen Xers and boomers, and 2 generations away from some of the young people that you're placing, and they say, young people these days, they're so entitled and they just want to come in at the highest level jobs, and that's why we can't get people, good young people to get good jobs. What's your answer to that?
I'm afraid to tell you my answer to that, but I will. And I just want to preface this. I'm not trying to bash the colleges, but the reason we're dealing with that, this is going to be horrible. So someone might be really mad at me for saying, I got to be honest.
Okay. It's fine. That's what this is about. And the 5 people that listen to this podcast, none of them are at a college anyway, so it doesn't matter.
All right, cool. So what I would say to that is we need the colleges to correct themselves. The colleges are not sharing the reality of what the real world is looking for. Let's face it, the colleges are a business, whether you're, and I don't mean harm, but the colleges are a business. They're set to make money, and they are selling. It's a dream factory. They're selling dreams. And it's way easier to sell a dream when you say, hey, you went to this school, therefore you deserve 60, 70,000 with your history degree. And so when you're frustrated with Gen Z and you're saying they're entitled, they want too much, I think you got to look beyond their eyes and look to the colleges where they just came from, because the colleges are not sharing that. Most of the students we see come out of college they're probably 20 to 30,000 over what they should be for true entry-level jobs based on what companies are actually willing to pay for the fact you have no experience. I just have someone the other day tell me about an article on the East Coast. I still need to see the article. There was a recent grad that came out and had asked, recent grads were coming out and asking for $300,000 starting salary for a 4-year degree. Again, we need to level set with these kids. And we need to also, with that level setting, get some ROI for those kids on those colleges. Those colleges are, I'm sorry, charging too much. Mm-hmm. It's easy to blow it up what you think a person's going to make if you want to charge a lot for it. The reality is the business community is not willing to pay what you're charging these kids. So we need to correct that. And I think when we start correcting that, putting in some reality, I think kids are going to come out and realize they're going to be better prepared. They're going to have less mental health issues. They're going to be more prepared to jump in and begin these careers and level with an employer on what they should be at. But until that happens, I think we do not blame the Gen Z. We got to go back to the source, which in my opinion is the colleges, honestly.
Yeah. I'm so glad you answered it, honest, because I don't know where that question came from. I did not have that manufactured. So I think everybody that listens to this podcast know I pull pretty much 90% just out of my ass. So like literally that was one of those questions that I just pulled out that I was curious. I was just genuinely curious. I'm glad you said that, because I think people kind of forget about the institutional side. And I do think like there's a little bit of a reckoning coming in the next 5 to 10 years in higher education, especially with virtual and everything else that's going on. So hopefully that time will take care of this little bit of problem, and then hopefully, cooler heads prevail.
Right. Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Before we get into 9 questions, tell me a little bit about your family, like your family dynamic now. And
Yep.
You can't, being a good business owner, an entrepreneur, you don't just sit here and just do this by yourself, right? You got to have a support system at home and a little bit more purpose. So tell me a little bit about your family.
Yeah. I've got an amazingly strong and confident and kind of a inspirational wife. She's steady Eddie. She's competitive. She's driven. She works at Target. Name's Denise Catterlick Johnson. So I've got her with me in this battle to, she keeps me grounded when I have rough days. I think all of us with spouses or partners, that's our friend. That's our rock, right? So she's definitely keeps me from sometimes cracking. I also have 2 little daughters, Harper and Presley. Harper's 11, Presley is 9. They're into dance, which if there's any dads or moms out there that have dance kids, that dance is great. I'm still planning that there's got to be some sort of a ball somewhere in there, basketball, volleyball, soccer, trying to bribe them with treats and candy. But, they're very happy in dance. And, so long as they're happy, that's what's important. So they're my little babies. Yeah.
What do you like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun as in hobby or just what? Yeah. So I think what I like to do for fun, and maybe something people wouldn't know, is I'm kind of a secret thrifter. I don't know if anyone remembers that good old show, The Pickers, that used to be on TV. Yeah. When I saw that come out, I'm like, how do I get into that job? That's all I want to do is go and drive in a van and sift through antiques and pick out some treasures. So on occasion, I like to go on the weekend, different thrift stores throughout the Twin Cities, or sometimes get out into the country. That's where the good stuff is. Go to an old thrift store and try to find some kind of antique or treasure. That really is a lot of fun. So
I love it. I love that. That's good. That is a fun fact. That didn't even come out of 9 questions. I left here's what I will say for a little foreshadowing is I left one question blank because I didn't know what I was going to ask you. And I'm like, I'm going to pull it out of somehow I'll figure it out. And so I got one. So let's just sit on that. Let's take a quick break. Let's listen to some of our community supporters. We're going to come back with 8 really good questions and 1 shitty one for Brian in a couple minutes. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for an insurance partner who is as invested in your success as you are? Christensen Group is Minnesota's largest employee-owned independent insurance agency. Since 1952, we've been connecting businesses and individuals with tailored expertise and solutions to manage risk and protect what matters most. Ready to get ahead of your risk? Call Christensen Group today at 952-653-1000. Christensen Group Insurance, because better tomorrows start with thoughtful todays.
Regardless if you're a startup just figuring things out or a medium-sized organization with a full team, having a legal partner by your side is crucial. Seiler Law is fiercely loyal to their clients and are passionate about removing headaches and roadblocks that can pop up during the growth of your business. Whether you need general outside counsel, are planning a business transaction, or even need someone to guide you through the estate planning process, the team at Seiler Law are the advocates for you. Visit SeilerLaw.com to learn more. Seiler Law, where experience meets pragmatism. Security Bank & Trust has been a community supporter and the banking partner of Coalition9 since our inception. One of my favorite things about partnering with Security Bank & Trust is that I have a significant relationship at multiple levels within the bank. From grabbing lunch and building a personal friendship with the president, Andy, to welcoming multiple employees as C9 members, to seeing Andy's smiling face when I swing by the Eden Prairie branch, they get relationships and the banking needs of a business like ours. Check them out at security-banks.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender. Security Bank & Trust, growing together. When you think of a typical CPA firm, you probably think of tax planning. Well, that just scratches the surface of what Boulay offers their clients. By providing smart, in-depth thinking from experts in accounting, audit, tax, and business consulting, they know what it takes to achieve financial success. Whether it's protecting your business, building your wealth, or securing your future, you can count on Boulay to go beyond addressing just financial matters and providing you with tailor-made, workable solutions. Learn about all they have to offer at BoulayGroup.com. Boulay, helping you get there. United Healthcare is dedicated to helping people live healthier lives and making the health system work better for everyone by simplifying the healthcare experience, meeting consumer health and wellness needs, and sustaining trusted relationships with care providers. UHC is continually focused on building a modern, high-performing health system via improved access, affordability, outcomes, and experiences. With a network of over 1.6 million physicians and healthcare professionals in over 6,000 hospitals, United Healthcare is dedicated to connecting employers and their employees to better health by offering quality benefits designed for affordability. For more information, visit United Healthcare at www.uhc.com. United Healthcare, helping people live healthier lives. Kaisa Wealth Management treats each client like a member of the family. Acting as your personal CFO, we are fiercely devoted to your financial prosperity. At Kaisa, our wealth strategies are aligned with your core values, creating a wealth plan centered around legacies you wish to create. This is our Kaisa commitment. Our wealth strategies are dynamic and tailor-made for your long-term goals because as a fee-only investment firm, excellence in service is not just a promise, it's our baseline. Whether it's selling a business, planning succession, creating a legacy, navigating life challenges like death or divorce, supporting executives on the move, planning retirement, or preserving family wealth, we are here for you. Find out how we can help to simplify your wealth at kaisawealth.com. In addition to our amazing, prospering, and thriving level supporters, we want to shine a spotlight on our equally awesome evolving level supporters. Alliant, Bauer Design Build, Beyond Design, Cox Insurance, EOS, specifically Justin Cox, Tom Holleran, and Mike Jones, Madeira Partners, Modern Foundation, and Sales Homie. All of the Coalition 9 community supporters can be found on our website at coalition9.com/community-supporters, or you can find the tab at the top. All right, we're back with Brian Johnson from Katapult. I'm super pumped to. I've specially, like I said, I specially curated 8 questions for you, and then left one ready to go. That I was joking. It's not shitty. It's actually a really good question. So, and I'll mix it in here. All right. So, can you confirm to me that you have no idea what I'm about to ask you?
I have no idea at all, what you're going to ask.
Good. Good. All right. Question 1. What is the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
Probably some type of shellfish on a vacation in Mexico. That's got to be it.
All right.
Yeah.
No liver, nothing, or maybe you love liver, but I always
I've never
remember
had liver,
like,
actually. I probably
yeah,
should try it.
neither. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not eating anything that processes alcohol for humans. I'm not eating a human liver. So let's just get that out. All right. Sorry. That came out wrong. Let's delete that part. All right. What is one of your hidden talents? Not picking.
My hidden talent is I've got a little bit of acting skills. Maybe that's a hidden talent.
And
Just a little.
like theater related things. Do you do any
theater and just sort of kind of pranking type activities with people that are in my family and friend group, and imitating people that they would not know and showing up in weird spots and pranking them. It's probably a talent of mine, is pranking people. Yeah.
I like, we'll talk about how people can get a hold of you, but if you find it, we'll put your LinkedIn profile on our show notes here so people can just click it and go right to you. And your internet videos on LinkedIn when you're playing these characters is literally a highlight of mine. And I told Paige this yesterday when I saw her at the event, and I think the jury's out yet internally at Katapult. If the team likes your videos, if I get a vote, it's a hard yes. Yeah,
Thank you.
They're good. Yeah.
Thank you.
What is your favorite meal?
Pizza, for sure. It's probably everyone's, but definitely my pizza.
Oh, I love good pizza. Who would play you? All right, going back to the acting thing, not you, but who would play you in the biography of your life?
Oh my good gosh, that's a heck of a question. Probably like what's his name? Maybe like a Jonah Hill or something, or it's an odd pick, but someone like that probably. Someone a little goofy, serious mix, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Sweet. I thought you were going to say Jason Momoa, but that's cool. All right. If you could go on a weekend vacation with two people, no one in your immediate family, who would they be?
Weekend vacation with two people, no one in my family, would be probably my good buddy, Jason Abrego, and my other good buddy, Kent Haranica. Super funny dudes. Great to hang out with. College buddies, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Have you ever gone on a trip with those two?
Those two and several other guys that are a little wacky, but not just those two alone. Not yet. No.
All right. Maybe put that on your list of things to do. Sounds like a good time. Yeah. What was the first album / CD / tape, whatever, the first album / CD / tape that you've ever purchased on your own?
Oh my God. Well, the first ever was New Kids on the Block. And I don't know why I even got that. I'm embarrassed to even say I even listened to that.
It doesn't matter.
That's what it was. Long time ago.
I was watching a thing on, I don't know what it was, Instagram or something. I'm trying to swear off of that, but they were talking about the worst Super Bowl halftime show because of the whole, I think people don't really get Kendrick Lamar and are trying to wrap their head around it. I think they conveniently forgot about 1991 when it was the New Kids on the Block. And I think it was here in the Twin Cities at the Metrodome. So
I think you're right about that. Yeah. That was a rough one.
Yeah. If you could compete in any Olympic sport, winter or summer, what would it be?
Assuming that I could be athletic enough, probably the high jump always fascinates me. There's no way I could actually do that, but it looks really cool.
Yeah. You're the second person to answer high jump.
Really?
Yeah. That's fascinating. I can't remember who the other person was, but it was not that long ago. I think it was a couple episodes ago. So I got to remember that one. That's fascinating to me.
That is fascinating.
People that say high jump. Huh.
Might have to hook us up. Maybe we need to work on that together.
I got to figure that one out. Yeah, maybe you two can get a 2-person high jumping team going. Jump on each other's shoulders. What do you actually enjoy spending money on?
I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And so I really enjoy, I've got kind of these odds and end collections throughout this office and throughout different parts of our room. Probably something Star Wars related, honestly. I'm kind of a kid at heart when it comes to Star Wars. So whether it's a Lego set or some kind of little figurine, or I love Star Wars stuff. So I could spend money on that all day.
I follow one of these on Twitter. I follow one of these profiles that they post things from the 80s, and it's all 80s toys. and I see some really cool star. And this morning was the land speeder. Remember that? It was kind of like a maroon color, and that's when they shot across the desert. And I remember
Yes.
when I got that.
Well, you had
And
that?
I had that. That was, I mean, I was young. That was what, 1980,
Yeah, it's 80 something. Yeah.
1982, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was 5 or 6. Crazy.
Yeah. That's it's funny you say that, because I had the best Christmas I've ever had was I had my mom had given me just a box full of all the original Star Wars figures, and I actually have some on the shelf here. I still have them. I played with I loved them. I practically slept with them. I just loved those Star Wars toys. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. 9th question. The one that I just curated specially for you. Your passion for going and antiquing and picking and just finding treasures. What's your greatest? Doesn't matter. I'm not talking about value. I'm talking about your biggest success story from a treasure that you found, either picking or antiquing or anything like that.
I usually flip a lot of the stuff. I'm trying to think what it would have been. I think I had found I found this I found this little crappy. They used to have play school people that were like when we and I were kids. They like almost like pegs,
Yep.
They had airport systems and all this stuff. I found this one that was made out of wood. I don't even know how old this thing was. It was very beat up. It was a little wooden dog, just a little peg dog, and I bought it for like 25 cents at a garage sale or some kind of thrift store. And I turned around and I sold that thing for like $80. And people were having a bidding war on it on eBay or Etsy or whatever I had it posted on. And that I was just like, this is awesome. Look at this, this little piece of crap. And people are, 25 cents to $80 is a good profit margin on that.
It's a good ROI on that time too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, that was the night, dude. You did a great job. Like one thing, I don't know if you get shaken too much, but you didn't even show any nervousness. So you did a fantastic job, and you settled right in. I think it's abundantly clear that, first of all, I just got to say, like, it's awesome to have you part of the C9 community. I think your energy is infectious. I've gotten to know you to where we're on texting terms, and that's what I just love about being buddies. Then, kind of it transcends business, and you just become buddies, and I can feel like I can text you whenever. So I want more people to feel that. I want more people to get to know who you are. Obviously, you're very passionate about your mission and young people. So whether it be because of that, whether it be because they're such a huge fan of the internet videos that you create on your LinkedIn profile, which we'll put your LinkedIn profile on our show notes. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, I'm a very open connector. I'll talk to almost anybody. I shouldn't maybe say that, but I'm always open to talking to people and trying to help. So LinkedIn is probably the best way. Connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message. My phone number is also on there. I shouldn't probably say that either, but it is. So if you ever want to call me, I'll be happy to talk. Whether you're in a job search or just need to talk to somebody in general, I love connecting and talking. So just reach out on LinkedIn.
And I'll say this for you is that, if you're responsible or even a dotted line responsible for talent, and I think everybody in a small business especially is, but as you start to get into bigger businesses, there's obviously titles that are related to that and stuff like that. But if you're just trying to figure out, your young person strategy and your talent strategy from I would probably say from holistic all the way down to making sure that young people, I just think you're a source of knowledge and I think you displayed that today. So I think just kind of teeing you up there for people that are looking at like, how can we develop a young person talent strategy? I think you're the guy. Like that, they should just start with you.
I think that would be great. Yeah, I appreciate that. And even if you're just questioning, like, do we have a millennial or Gen Z environment or, that type of thing, I'd love to give you some of my knowledge and pointers along the way too. So happy to help with any of those talent solutions that you have, for sure.
All right. And then like I alluded to before, it goes without saying, a C9 community is a better community with you in it. And I think you just displayed that today, just the passion that you have for young people, your lived experience that you're then bringing forth. I mean, the entrepreneurial spirit, the way that you lead your people, the way that you're being a leader in the community of being an advocate for young people. I'm just proud of the fact that you're just in C9. So I just needed to say that for my own benefit, so that I could make sure that how I feel about you.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. I'm excited to be a part of C9, and it's been the enthusiasm, the community of C9 people. It's It's been a great journey. And so I'm really glad we met, and I've had this opportunity to be a part of this as well. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm honored to call you a friend. So on behalf of Brian, this has been the Power of Nine podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Eggert, and I want to thank you for the privilege of your time.